We talk about confidence like it's certainty. I know I'm attractive. I know I'm talented. I know they'll like me. I know this will work. I know I deserve the opportunity. But the truth is, you don't know any of those things. You can feel that way, but it doesn't make it fact. And if your confidence is dependent on life validating that belief, you're going to lose it when somebody criticizes you or leaves you or outperforms you or rejects you or simply doesn't see in you what you see in yourself. Confidence is not developing yourself in your life to a point that bad things won't happen. Bad things will inevitably happen. Confidence is when you do not abandon yourself when they do. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Wellish. Today, we're going to be talking about moving from outcome based confidence to identity based confidence. By the end of this video, your perception on confidence will completely change and actually feel a lot more achievable as the person you are today. Because true confidence is not saying, I know I can do this. It's saying, I trust the person that I will be, even if I can't. If anything in this episode resonates with you, please make sure to rate, review, and share the show. It really does help get episodes out to more like-minded listeners like you and I who need to live a little bit more wellishly. And if you are a person that loves self-improvement but does not like the inevitable self-rejection that you feel just by inundating yourself with it, you're going to want to subscribe so that you can feel like you are good enough now exactly as you are and still develop yourself into the person you want to be. I need to make a very important distinction between society's version of confidence and self trust because traditional confidence is that you believe that you can succeed. You believe the good thing about yourself. Where self trust is knowing that even if you don't receive that outcome, even if somebody doesn't perceive you that way, that you will be okay. Self trust is trusting yourself to respond in a way that keeps your integrity no matter what happens. And what's cool is that you can still be completely unsure and still have deep rooted trust in yourself. I have no idea what this person thinks of me, or if they like me, or if they think I'm weird, or if I embarrass myself in front of them and now they perceive me as this sort of thing because I said this thing that I didn't totally mean. And now I don't know what they think of me. But I'm okay if they perceive me that way. I'm okay if they don't understand me. I don't know if this project that I've been working on forever will ever actually succeed. And if I'm just embarrassing myself in front of all of my friends and family, trying to put myself out there and make it happen and try this thing again, and they keep watching me fail and do something over to try to figure it out. But I know that I will know my next move. That felt really embarrassing, but that embarrassing moment does not make up my entire identification as a person. Shit, I made the wrong choice. I did something that I don't totally love, but I trust myself to handle whatever the consequence of that is, whatever is going to come next. This is the Wellish definition of confidence because self trust does not require certainty. When you're relying on confidence, you're asking yourself if you can pull something off. Where when you're relying on self trust, you're asking yourself, will I have my own back even if it doesn't work out? I went through a really traumatizing breakup, and during that period, I was hyper fixated on making sure I did everything quote unquote right. I thought that if I did everything right and how society would perceive as the right way to show up and handle myself, that it would be unjustified for him to have done what he did to me. Like it was a way for me to prove that what happened to me was not okay. It was for me to validate what I knew to be true. But I needed society to know I did all of the right things in order to allow that validation. And that led to me feeling like I needed to be completely certain about how I was going to handle certain situations before I acted. And I realized that it was taking a lot more of a toll on me to make sure that I was handling things completely correct in a situation that I didn't feel good. It was a very hard thing to go through, and I didn't need to be putting any more pressure on myself than I already was. Now, this is an extreme example and can be used in just regular everyday decision making, whether it's something small or it's something big, but there is so much freedom in knowing that it's okay if you're wrong. It felt so good to realize that I didn't need doing all of the right things to justify that what he did to me was fucked up. And if I didn't handle everything perfectly correct, as the internet would put a stamp of approval on, even though I would like to go ahead and say I did. But see, here's that same example. There is so much freedom in the fact that maybe I didn't do everything right. Maybe I could have been meaner. Maybe I could have given him a taste of his own medicine. Maybe I could have, whatever somebody else would say would have been the right thing to do. But I was doing the best that I could at that moment with everything I was dealing with. And I feel confident in that. And knowing that someone else can perceive what I did as wrong, but as long as I know that I was showing up in the best way that I knew how, there is so much freedom in that. When I think of things that validate confidence, I think of external validation that my confidence is giving what I want it to give. And a lot of the time, that is proven and validated through people complimenting us. But compliments never seem to be a long term fix for our insecurity. There is this temporary high that happens when someone tells you you're beautiful, or you get attention from someone you like. A post performed well, you got praised at work, you were invited somewhere, someone's pursuing you, or you're just receiving random compliments throughout the day, throughout your life. None of those things are bad, and you should suck those dry for all of the dopamine you can. The problem is, though, when you want those compliments to do what they cannot do. External validation can confirm something temporarily, but it cannot create internal safety. I mean, we've all experienced it. If 10 people give us a compliment, but then one person says something criticizing, that one comment is what takes over our entire thought process. And the only reason that has so much power over you is because you are so trapped in the thought loop, in the habit of collecting evidence about what other people think of you rather than how you relate to yourself. Compliments can make you feel good about yourself, but they can't teach you that you believe those things about you. And if other people are responsible for giving you confidence, they also have the power to take it away. And I want to make something really clear here because I think a lot of confidence is packaged and presented to us as you shouldn't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. But this isn't not caring about what other people think. You're a human. You want to belong. You want to fit in. That is a natural reaction to the world around you, that you want people to think well of you. So you are going to care about what other people think. And I think something else that's very romanticized is this idea of emotional invulnerability, that like you can just be so numb to other people that you don't care what they think, that makes a strong person to not let anybody in and to keep those walls up. What's actually pretty badass and makes you really powerful and really strong and brings out that really confident version of you that you're trying to achieve is being able to not have those walls, be emotionally vulnerable, care about what other people think, and know that that is just information. It's not truth about you. And you can do that because you have identity based confidence. What kind of person are you to you? It's not a matter of asking yourself if you're confident enough. And when things go wrong and you're beating yourself up and you're feeling sad and you are mad at yourself for not being more confident because this isn't how a confident person would handle it, it's saying, who am I when things are uncomfortable? When I am in this vulnerable, sad, not feeling good state, who am I during those moments? Do I allow myself to change my mind without it meaning something about me? Do I leave situations that repeatedly hurt me? Do I tell myself the truth? Do I comfort myself after being rejected, or do I humiliate myself for being rejected? Can I admit when I screwed up? Do I make decisions based on what I actually want? Do I let myself be disliked without having to over explain myself to make them like me? Do I try things I might be bad at? That is being someone who does not abandon themselves. You don't need this identity of I always win, I always look amazing, I always make perfect decisions, everybody likes me. That's fragile. It's not something that you can rely on. And if you are relying on that, the moment that somebody doesn't perceive you that way, it will fall apart. A much sturdier mindset that you can rely on is whatever happens, I know who I am. I am on my side. I have my own back. But honestly, because we've spent so much time relying on externals to validate our confidence, it's hard to actually have the evidence that we do have our own back. It doesn't feel good enough to just say that we have our own back. We need proof that we really genuinely do. And because confidence needs evidence, we run into an issue when we've been collecting it in the wrong place for so long. You interpret that evidence to be that people compliment you, you're succeeding, they texted you back, you got invited, your content performed, you got the promotion. When in reality, the evidence should look more like I got rejected and I let myself be disappointed without feeling like I was worthless. I said what I actually thought. I tried something before I knew I would be good at it. I have survived being embarrassed. I can change course when something isn't working. I made a mistake, took accountability for it, and repaired it. I'm able to stop chasing people that don't meet me halfway. I can rest and take a break without feeling like I have to earn it. It's not about collecting all of this evidence that you're impressive. It's about collecting evidence that you can depend on yourself to move through the world in the way that you authentically want to move through the world. Because in that way, you're not relying on anything external. When you are trying to be impressive, you're relying on the externals to validate that the world sees you as the way that you're trying to portray yourself. But when you are just dependent on yourself, you can portray yourself in the way you want, and that is good enough. There's really popular advice that says you don't trust yourself because you keep breaking promises to yourself. And there is truth in that. If you are constantly telling yourself that you're going to do something and you don't do it, that does affect self trust in a way. But that sounds so extreme. And your self trust doesn't go away just because you don't do the thing that you said you were going to do every single time. If you told yourself that you were going to wake up at 5 a.m., that doesn't mean that you have to wake up at 5 a.m. for the rest of eternity. Otherwise, you won't trust yourself. Trusting yourself means I made that plan when I was in a different headspace, when I was prepared to wake up at 5 a.m. But today, I have different information. I have different needs. I have a different feeling. I'm doing my best today, and my best today is different than my best when I made the plans to get up at 5 a.m. And that's okay. I need to do something different today. You don't have to be obediently rigid to the version of yourself that made those plans. You have to have the ability to be genuinely honest with yourself. You don't have to be obediently rigid to the version of yourself that made those plans. You have to honestly be able to listen to yourself. That means you have to give yourself some flexibility and know that you don't have to do something perfect every single day in order for you to deserve the self trust that you're working to achieve. And of all of the promises that you can make to yourself, there are three that are worth keeping. Behavioral promises. I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to do my best to follow through. Protective promises. I said I wasn't going to allow myself to be treated like this by people anymore. And emotional promises. If this goes badly, I promise I will not turn against myself. I think a lot of self improvement puts us in this position that we can never fail because if we fail, we got it wrong. But the real promise that you have to keep to yourself is that you're not going to use your failures as an excuse to be cruel to yourself because you're going to fail at things. Like that is an inevitable thing that is going to happen. And when it happens, you need to be able to have your own back through it. And honestly, I encourage the failure because that's when you learn the most in life. If you're not failing, you're not trying, you're not putting yourself out there enough, you're not taking enough risk to get you closer to where you want to go. But with that, you cannot get far if you're tearing yourself down every time. And with this, you can build a kind of confidence that survives rejection. And isn't that the main goal? Wouldn't that be so wonderful to be so confident that even when you're rejected, even when things don't go your way, that you are okay? But so many of us have this internal logic that if we're chosen, that means we're valuable. And if we're rejected, that means something is wrong with us. But identity based confidence changes that question from why didn't they choose me to, okay, what do I choose now? Someone cannot want a second date, or they can end a friendship. They can hire someone else. They can dislike your content. They can misunderstand you and think you're annoying and choose someone else. And none of those things require you to ever for a moment question your worthiness. Because it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the fact that you two people are not in alignment. And it's as simple as that. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just not in alignment. Sometimes there's something wrong with them. Confidence doesn't mean that rejection can't hurt. Rejection hurts. You get upset about rejection. You can cry about rejection. It's what you do after the rejection? Are you the type of person that is going to just figure it out and move forward post rejection? Or are you going to try to change who you are to become a person that would have prevented that from ever happening? And when we can look at confidence in a big picture way like that, I don't know about you, but it makes me feel a lot more confident and a lot better because I feel that a lot of confidence, we are trying to become this walk on water version for each day in each moment. But confidence really is how you show up over time. And it's what you do more of the time than not. Rejection hurts, but self rejection is where we start to get into identity crisis territory. And really, confidence is such a paradox because you become more magnetic when you stop needing proof that you are. When you trust yourself, you don't need every interaction to prove that you're likable, or for every date to turn into something, or for every room to approve of you. And when you live like that, you actually get to participate in your life rather than being in this space of constantly monitoring everybody around you and how they're perceiving you. And that's where magnetism comes from. Not everybody wants me, which is what we're sold that magnetism and confidence is, and more that you don't need anybody to. To wrap this episode up, I made you guys a practical reset to build your self trust identity. I don't want you to leave this episode and feel like you have to go change the world and change your entire life. I want you to be able to do something as you are here right in this moment, whether you're at the gym or you're driving or you're cleaning your house. No matter what you're doing, you can do this exercise. So we're going to do it together. I want you to finish these 3 sentences. The first one is I trust myself too, to figure things out when I don't know what I'm doing, to take some space to allow myself to come back to clarity, to remember who I am even when I get emotionally elevated, to keep this behavioral promise to myself more of the time than not, to protect myself from behavior that hurts me, to not turn against myself when things go badly or not how I wanted them to. The second sentence, if I get rejected, I promise myself I can get hurt without making it mean I'm unworthy. I can feel the pain and then choose what's best for me. I will not overextend, overfunction, or overexplain to make someone understand me. I will feel the hurt and just move on. I will give myself the space to understand why that happened without judgment so I can make different choices going forward, but won't make those things mean anything about who I am. I will not turn against myself. And the third sentence to complete is I want to become someone who doesn't abandon herself to keep someone else, follows through on what I said I was going to do, won't use empathy to excuse behavior that I don't like, prioritizes her own self protection, doesn't shame myself when things don't go the way that I wanted them to. With those 3 sentences, you can go out into your life and look for small opportunities to become that person instead of waiting for yourself to magically feel confident because you handled everything quote unquote right. You don't need to build a version of yourself that's so beautiful or successful or interesting or magnetic or impressive so that rejection can never reach you. What you need is to build a relationship with yourself that any rejection can never take away. Because confidence isn't knowing that life will always choose you. It's knowing that no matter what life chooses, you will always choose yourself. That's it for today's episode. If you're trying to grow without making yourself the enemy, make sure to subscribe to Wellish and send this episode to a friend that you trust to always have your back. I would love it if you guys could comment one of your 3 sentences. Maybe it'll help someone else have an idea of what promise they can make to themselves to build a self trust identity as well. You never know who you can help just by leaving a comment. Thank you so much for being here. I love you endlessly. I hope you guys have a confident, amazing, aligned week, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.